How many times did you think that maybe in the 21st century the Torah needs to be a little altered, changed? Some of the laws sound so archaic to the young modern mind. The Torah looks like it's falling. We need to adjust it. We need to make it stronger, and so on. So let me tell you a story that's in we learn in the prophets in the book of Samuel. It's based on this week's Torah portion. The Torah tells us this week that the temple, or the portable tabernacle, was transported by the tribe of Levi throughout the desert when the Jews traveled through the desert. And some of the items of the temple, the walls, the coverings, were transported by wagon because they were heavy. But the Torah tells us that there were certain items, specifically the ark, that could never be put onto a wagon, that had to be carried by shoulder. They had little sticks that you would put on your shoulder, and they would carry it. The tribe of Levi would carry it. And it's the story in the Tanakh, in the prophets, that in the time of King David, the Philistines once captured the Holy Ark. Now, the Holy Ark housed within them the two tablets of stone. So that the Ark was a symbol of the Torah. So they stole the Ark. And they realized very quickly that they were being punished. A lot of different terrible calamities were happening to them. So they realized this is attributed to the fact that they held the Ark. It was too holy for them. They sent it back. And it ended up in someone's house. Eventually it was put on a wagon to be sent back to Jerusalem to King David. While it was transported on that wagon, which itself was a sin, the wagon was met with some difficult terrain, and it looked like the temple was going to, the wagon was going to stumble over and fall, and the ark would fall. So there was a man over there by the name of Uzzah, and he ran over quickly. When he saw this, he went to support the Torah so that the Torah doesn't fall, meaning the ark, that the ark doesn't fall off the wagon. When he did that, he was struck dead. And the question was, why? Why was he so severely punished? He meant well. He meant to save the ark from falling. And the answers, many answers given, but I'd like to share with you that one of the reasons is because the mistake he made is his approach to Torah. He thought that the Torah, it looked to him like the Torah was falling. The Torah needed his human support. And the truth is, it's the other way around. The Torah never falls. The Torah is intact. The Torah is exactly the way it should be. If anyone falls, it's the human being. It's our society. The time, for sometimes as we develop, we realize we're a little weak, we change our attitudes, we change our minds, and we begin to fall spiritually. What do you do then? You use the Torah to support you. The Torah never needs your support. Don't ever try to alter the Torah, because it looks like, let's be honest about it. It looks like the Torah is in difficult terrain in the 21st century. It looks like the wagon is stumbling over. So few people are really committed to full-fledged Torah lifestyle. So it looks like the Torah is in danger, and the Torah may need a little adjustment to get it back onto straight terrain. But that's the mistake. The Torah is always the way it should be. If there's anyone that needs support, it is us. And what do you do when you need support so that you don't fall spiritually? It's not you change the Torah. You change yourself to apply yourself to the Torah's wisdom. Because after all, the Torah's wisdom is God's wisdom. And does God ever change? Does his will ever change? Does God's wisdom ever change? Of course not. He's unchangeable. Ani Hashem lo shanisi, says the psalmist. Meaning, God, I am God, says God, and I don't change. Nor does my will, nor does my wisdom. And therefore, if it ever comes to a point where you begin to realize the Torah is its relation with the Jewish people looks wobbly, it's the Jew that needs to come back to the Torah and be supported by the Torah, not the other way around. While it looks difficult and we have to lift up the Torah onto our shoulders, we're told that when the Jewish people did that, once it was on their shoulders, they began to realize that the Torah was carrying them, not the other way around. So put the Torah on your shoulder, never put it on a wagon, and certainly don't ever see the Torah as being wobbly and falling and you need to support it. It doesn't need your support. You need to be supported by it. And that way, the Torah and the Jewish people will last for a very, very long time. And we have lasted. The Torah has lasted with us, and it will last that way till the end of time when Mashiach comes. May that be today. May that happen quickly in our days. And I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.